It started with a simple game, but sometimes innocent fun can lead to paths we never intended to tread. In the dim light of the living room, Jake leaned back against the couch, a mix of excitement and nervousness swirling within him. His heart raced as he glanced over at his new stepsister Mia, who was seated opposite him. She was a stunning young woman with cascading dark hair and bright green eyes that sparkled with mischief. The awkwardness that hung between them was palpable, a tangible reminder of the unconventional circumstances that had brought them together. Just a few weeks ago, their families had merged, and they were still learning how to navigate this unfamiliar territory. "Are you sure you want to do this?" Jake asked, raising an eyebrow at the board games spread out between them. It was meant to be a fun distraction, a way to break the ice after their parents' recent marriage. Mia smiled, her lips curving playfully. "Come on, Jake. It's just a game. What's the worst that could happen?" She gave him a teasing look, the challenge evident in her tone. As they settled in, the initial awkwardness faded, replaced by a sense of playful camaraderie. The game began innocently enough, with dares and truths that sparked laughter and anecdotes about their childhoods. With each round, the atmosphere grew lighter, the tension easing between them. But beneath the laughter, a current of unspoken attraction lingered. Jake couldn't help but notice the way Mia's laughter lit up the room and how her subtle glances sent butterflies fluttering in his stomach. He was torn between the innocence of their newfound friendship and the thrill of something more. And if you're enjoying this story so far, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. With the night stretching ahead of them, Jake felt a rush of anticipation. Little did they know, this game would soon lead them down a path filled with secrets and desires neither of them was prepared to confront. Sure, here's the second segment, maintaining a connection with the first while developing the atmosphere and building their chemistry. As the game continued, Jake could feel the weight of the world outside fading away, replaced by the warm glow of shared laughter and playful banter. Mia's vibrant personality drew him in like a moth to a flame. Each round felt like peeling back layers, revealing glimpses of the person behind the new title of stepsister. "Okay, my turn," Mia declared, her voice filled with mischief. "Truth or dare, Jake?" He paused for a moment, weighing his options. "Dare," he said, feeling bold. I dare you to do your best impression of Mom's cooking," she challenged, a grin lighting up her face. Jake chuckled, shaking his head as he mimicked their mother's over-the-top enthusiasm when serving dinner. "And don't forget to say it's the best meal you've ever had," he added, pretending to drool over an imaginary plate. Mia burst into laughter, the sound bright and infectious. "That was awful," she exclaimed, her eyes sparkling. "I think I'll stick to takeout." With each round, the game took on a life of its own. They shared silly secrets, memories of school crushes, and embarrassing moments from their childhood. Jake found himself enjoying Mia's company more than he ever expected. There was a certain magic in the air, a playful energy that wrapped around them like a soft blanket. Mia, in her carefree nature, was the perfect partner for this playful adventure. She dared him to sing a line from his favorite song, and when he hesitated, she jumped in with her own off-key rendition, prompting a duet that filled the room with laughter. "Okay, my turn again," she declared, still chuckling. "I dare you to text your best friend something embarrassing." Jake raised an eyebrow. "What should I say?" "Tell him you think your stepsister is really cute," she teased, biting her lip to suppress a laugh. With a grin, he grabbed his phone and began typing. "All right, but you'll have to do the same after." As he pressed send, Mia squealed, throwing a pillow at him playfully. No way, that's too much. Oh, come on, you started this, he shot back, laughter spilling from his lips as he dodged the pillow. Their playful banter continued, and Jake couldn't help but notice how comfortable they were becoming with each other. He could see the confidence growing in Mia as she loosened up, her laughter ringing through the air like music. It was a feeling he wanted to hold on to forever, but there was a subtle undercurrent of tension that neither of them acknowledged. "All right, last round," Mia suggested, her voice softening as if she sensed the shift in their energy. "Truth or dare, Jake?" "Dare," he replied, still feeling the adrenaline from their playful exchanges. Mia hesitated, a mischievous glint in her eye. "I dare you to kiss me." Time seemed to freeze as Jake's heart raced, a mix of excitement and trepidation flooding through him. The words hung in the air, heavy with possibility. It was just a game, right? But as he looked into her eyes, the playful atmosphere shifted into something deeper. Before he could respond, Mia leaned in closer, her breath warm against his skin. The moment felt electric, charged with unspoken desires and lingering doubts. Jake's mind raced with thoughts, each one colliding with the other, unsure of what to do next. Jake's heart pounded in his chest as he processed Mia's daring challenge. The atmosphere had shifted from playful to something electric, igniting a spark that neither of them had anticipated. He could see the challenge in her eyes, mixed with a hint of uncertainty. They had been laughing just moments ago, but now a thicker tension filled the room. "Are you serious?" Jake finally managed to say, his voice barely above a whisper. Mia leaned back slightly, her cheeks flushing. "It's just a dare, right? We're having fun, aren't we?" She shrugged, trying to downplay the intensity of the moment, but her eyes betrayed her. "Yeah, but—" He hesitated, unsure how to articulate the jumble of thoughts racing through his mind. This was his stepsister, after all. What they were playing with was much more than a game now. "Okay, fine, I'll do it too," Mia blurted out suddenly, surprising him. "I dare myself to kiss you as well." Her voice was shaky, but determination shone in her eyes. "Wait, are you serious?" Jake's surprise morphed into disbelief. The idea was thrilling, but also terrifying. The implications of crossing that line lingered heavily in the air. "Why not? It's just a kiss," she replied, a mischievous grin spreading across her face. "We can just pretend it's a part of the game, and nothing more." Jake couldn't help but chuckle at her bravery. "Okay, if you're really up for it," he said, trying to mask his nervousness with a playful tone. With a nod, Mia leaned in closer, their faces mere inches apart. Jake could see the tiny flecks of gold in her green eyes, and his breath caught in his throat. As they hovered in that charged space, he felt the world outside vanish. Nothing mattered except the two of them, caught in this moment where everything could change. "On 3?" Jake suggested, attempting to lighten the intensity. 1, 2, 3. As their lips met, a wave of warmth washed over him. It was soft and tentative at first, just a gentle brush that sent electric shivers down his spine. But as the seconds ticked by, the kiss deepened, fueled by an undeniable chemistry. Time felt suspended as they lost themselves in the moment. Jake pulled back, breathless, his heart racing. Mia's cheeks were flushed, and she wore an expression that combined surprise and exhilaration. "Wow," he breathed, unable to suppress his grin. "Yeah, wow," she echoed, her voice a mixture of disbelief and delight. The game had changed entirely, leaving them both a little dazed and wondering where they stood now. Realizing they had crossed a boundary, they both fumbled for words. The light-heartedness of their previous exchanges felt distant, replaced by a charged, tension that crackled in the air. They were no longer just step-siblings playing a game. They had ventured into new territory that neither had prepared for. "Okay, let's keep going with the game," Mia suggested, her enthusiasm tinged with a hint of nervousness. "Next dare, then." Jake could see her trying to regain composure, but it was clear they were both affected by the kiss. "All right, but this time, let's make it a little less intense," he chuckled, trying to ease the pressure. "How about something silly?" Mia smiled, though the hint of mischief returned to her gaze. "Fine. I dare you to wear my headband for the rest of the game." Jake laughed and grabbed the sparkly headband from the table, placing it atop his head like a crown. They both erupted into laughter, the tension temporarily relieved as they took a moment to breathe and regain their balance. As they continued with the game, the dares grew bolder, pushing them closer to the edge of their comfort zones. They shared secrets, revealing little fantasies that had lingered in the back of their minds, each confession heightening the atmosphere around them. It was as if every revelation brought them one step closer to crossing a line that felt increasingly enticing, yet undeniably risky. With every shared dream and playful dare, Jake felt the weight of attraction pressing in on him, mingling with the thrill of uncertainty. He knew they were dancing on the edge of something far beyond their innocent game, but he couldn't help but lean into the excitement. Whatever happened next, one thing was clear: their relationship would never be the same. The laughter from their last round lingered in the air, but now an undeniable shift had taken place. As they tossed playful glances and exchanged cheeky remarks, the game felt less like a harmless pastime and more like a dance on the edge of something much deeper. Each shared secret, each flirtatious comment layered the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. "Okay, my turn again," Mia said, leaning forward with a playful gleam in her eye. "I dare you to tell me your biggest secret." Jake raised an eyebrow, feeling the pulse of excitement and challenge race through him. "A secret, huh? You mean the kind that's never left my lips?" "Exactly. Something juicy," she urged, her tone encouraging yet teasing. He thought for a moment, contemplating what to share. "All right, here's one," he began, his voice lowering conspiratorially. "I've always had a crush on my best friend's sister." Mia's eyes widened, a playful smirk dancing on her lips. "Really? And who might that be?" Jake paused, gauging her reaction. "Well, let's just say she's got a killer sense of humor and knows how to have fun." Mia tilted her head, pretending to be deep in thought. "Interesting. But does she know how you feel?" "Not a clue," he replied, his heart racing. "But she's definitely someone special." Mia leaned closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. "You should tell her. Life's too short to keep secrets." The closeness of their bodies, the warmth radiating from her, heightened the moment, making Jake acutely aware of her presence. "I might just do that," he teased, a smile creeping onto his face. "But only if you share a secret of your own." "Fine," she sighed, dramatically rolling her eyes, though a smile remained. "But you might not want to hear this." She took a deep breath, her demeanor shifting slightly. "There's someone I've been thinking about. Someone I've always found attractive." Jake's heart skipped a beat, curiosity piquing his interest. "Oh, really? Do I know this person?" Mia's gaze locked with his, a flicker of mischief igniting between them. "Maybe. Maybe not. But they're definitely someone close." A playful challenge filled the air. "All right, let's up the stakes," he said, feeling the thrill of flirtation rising. "I dare you to text that person and tell them you think they're cute." "Wait! That's risky," Mia laughed, though excitement glimmered in her eyes. What if they reply? Exactly. That's what makes it fun, he grinned, leaning back and crossing his arms, daring her to take the plunge. Or, are you too scared? Me? Scared? Never, she declared, reaching for her phone with a determination that made Jake's heart race. As she typed, the atmosphere shifted again. The game had taken on a daring quality, a flirtation that left them both teetering on the brink of something more significant. The playful tone was gone, replaced with an intensity that was almost palpable. Moments later, Mia set her phone down, her face a mix of thrill and apprehension. Done, she announced, a hint of pride in her voice. Now, it's your turn. Jake felt the gravity of the moment settle in. All right, I dare you to blindfold me and lead me somewhere in the house. Mia's eyebrows shot up. Ooh, that sounds fun, but where exactly? Anywhere, he replied, his heart racing. Just make it interesting. Mia's grin widened as she moved to grab a blindfold, excitement and nervousness bubbling beneath the surface. This is going to be epic, she said, wrapping the fabric around his eyes and tying it securely. Jake felt her presence all around him, the gentle brush of her fingers as she adjusted the blindfold, sending shivers down his spine. All right, hold on, she called out, taking his hand and guiding him forward. He could feel the thrill of anticipation building as Mia led him through the dimly lit house. Each step felt like a step deeper into uncharted territory. The playful banter fell silent, replaced by the steady rhythm of their breathing, both aware that this game was spiraling into something entirely different. They stopped, and Jake could feel Mia's warmth radiating close to him. Okay, here we are, she whispered, her voice laced with excitement, but I won't tell you where. You have to guess. His mind raced, filled with the thrill of the moment. As he stood there, waiting, the air around them felt charged, the line between the game and reality blurring dangerously. Ready? Mia teased, her breath brushing against him, igniting an electric spark that surged through Jake. This was more than a game now. It was a moment that hinted at everything that could come next. The air crackled with tension as Jake and Mia stood lost in each other's gaze, their breaths mingling in the charged atmosphere. Every laugh and secret shared during their playful game had led to this moment, a precipice of desire where innocence blurred into something primal and electrifying. Jake leaned in closer, his lips brushing against hers, igniting an inferno that had been simmering just beneath the surface. The kiss began softly, but quickly deepened as the urgency of their attraction overtook them. Mia melted into him, her body responding instinctively to his touch, as if they were two pieces of a puzzle that had finally found their match. With a surge of desire, Jake's hands roamed over Mia's back, drawing her closer until there was no space left between them. Her body fit perfectly against his, every curve pressing against him like a sweet temptation. He could feel the warmth radiating from her skin, fueling the fire that burned deep within him. Mia let out a soft sigh as Jake's hands slid beneath her shirt, exploring the smoothness of her skin. Each caress sent shivers coursing through her body, igniting a hunger that matched his own. She pulled him closer, deepening their kiss, her fingers tangling in his hair as if anchoring herself to this moment. The world around them vanished. There was nothing but the two of them in a bubble of warmth and desire. Jake's heart raced, and he could feel the heat of Mia's body against his, a magnetic pull that drew him further into the depths of their connection. He was lost in her, completely consumed by the longing that pulsed between them. With a sudden rush of boldness, Mia pressed her body against Jake's, pushing him back onto the couch. The movement took them both by surprise, but it only heightened the thrill coursing through their veins. Jake's hands slid down to her waist, guiding her as he laid her back on the cushions. He hovered over her, a fierce intensity burning in his gaze. "Are you sure?" he asked, his voice low and heavy with need. Mia responded with a passionate kiss, her body arching against his. "I've never been more sure of anything," she whispered, her breath hot against his ear. The declaration sent a jolt of excitement through Jake, and he knew they were about to cross a line that would change everything. The kiss deepened again as Jake's hands continued their exploration, trailing down Mia's sides, savouring the softness of her skin. The thrill of their secret hung in the air, making every touch feel electric, every gasp a sweet symphony of desire. Mia's fingers roamed over his back, pulling him closer as if to erase any space left between them. As their kisses grew more fervent, Jake could feel the urgency of their desires boiling over. He trailed kisses down Mia's neck, planting soft bites along her collarbone, coaxing her into the moment. The sensations overwhelmed her, a beautiful chaos that filled her with a heady mixture of excitement and longing. "Jake," she murmured, her voice thick with emotion, "I want you." That simple statement ignited something wild within him. He needed her, every inch of her. Jake's hands found the hem of her shirt and lifted it slowly, exposing her skin to the cool air, sending goosebumps rippling across her body. He couldn't help but admire her, the way she glowed with desire, radiating a beauty that took his breath away. With a shared, knowing look, they discarded their inhibitions along with their clothes. Jake marvelled at the sight of her bare body, every curve and dip drawing him in like a moth to a flame. Mia was breathtaking, and he was consumed by the need to explore every part of her. They moved together like a dance, their bodies intertwining in perfect harmony. As Jake pressed his lips against hers once more, the world around them faded away, leaving only the intoxicating rhythm of their breaths and heartbeats echoing in the silence. Mia responded to his touch, her body arching and inviting him in, surrendering completely to the moment. Jake moved down her body, kissing a trail from her lips to her collarbone, then lower, savouring the taste of her skin. Every touch, every kiss ignited sparks that set her aflame, sending her deeper into a sea of pleasure. As he continued to explore, he felt Mia's hands gripping his shoulders, urging him on, every sigh and moan only adding fuel to the fire burning within him. The chemistry between them was palpable, an energy that thrummed in the air and bound them together in a web of desire. With each movement, they grew bolder, succumbing to their passions as they intertwined completely. Jake could feel Mia's warmth enveloping him, their bodies moving in perfect sync, the intensity building with every kiss and caress. There was no hesitation now, no fear of what this meant, only the raw, unfiltered need to be together. Finally, they came together in an electric union, their bodies melding as if they were always meant to be this way. A wave of pleasure washed over them both, a delicious release that sent shivers down their spines. They moved together, a rhythm that was both frantic and beautiful, each thrust drawing them deeper into a world of sensation and ecstasy. Mia gasped, her fingers digging into Jake's skin as they lost themselves in each other. Every moment felt like an eternity, filled with blissful intensity as they explored the depths of their desires. The thrill of their forbidden connection only heightened the pleasure, and Jake revelled in the sensation of being completely intertwined with her. In that moment, nothing else existed. It was just Jake and Mia, two souls surrendering to their desires, caught in a whirlwind of passion that promised to leave an indelible mark on their lives. As they reached the peak of their intimacy, their world ignited in a blaze of pleasure, and Jake felt as if they were soaring into the heavens, lost in a moment that was theirs alone. The connection they forged in that instant was both exhilarating and terrifying, leaving them breathless and craving more. The world around Jake and Mia came rushing back as they lay intertwined, the echoes of their shared passion still resonating in the air. The once electric atmosphere had shifted, leaving a palpable weight pressing down on them. Their hearts raced, but not solely from the thrill of their encounter. An undeniable tension had crept in, thickening the air with uncertainty. Mia's mind raced, her emotions swirling like leaves caught in a tempest. The moments they had just shared were both exhilarating and terrifying. She turned her head slightly to meet Jake's gaze, her heart pounding as reality began to set in. What had they done? They had crossed an invisible line, one that held consequences neither of them had fully grasped in the heat of the moment. Jake watched her, his own thoughts mirroring hers. He felt a mix of elation and anxiety, the thrill of intimacy giving way to the heaviness of what had just happened. The weight of their relationship hung in the balance, and the carefree spirit they had shared moments ago felt like a distant memory. Mia shifted slightly, breaking the closeness they had shared just moments before. The warmth that had enveloped them felt different now, more suffocating than comforting. "What are we going to do now?" she asked softly, her voice tinged with uncertainty. The question hung in the air like a dark cloud, casting shadows over their intimate moment. Jake sighed, running a hand through his hair as he pondered her question. "I don't know," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't think this would happen. Not like this." The reality of their situation crashed over him like a wave, drowning out the bliss they had just experienced. A flicker of worry crossed Mia's face. She had always seen Jake as more than just a stepbrother, but never had she imagined they would find themselves here, sharing an intense, passionate encounter that felt so right, yet so wrong. What if this changes everything?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Jake met her gaze, the intensity of her question settling deep within him. "It already has, hasn't it?" he replied, a hint of sadness creeping into his tone. They were no longer just step-siblings. They had ventured into territory that was forbidden, and the implications were significant. As they lay there, in silence, the reality of their actions began to sink in. Mia felt a sense of panic rising within her, the thrill of their connection replaced by the weight of potential consequences. What would their parents think? What if this secret slipped out? The idea of facing that reality sent a shiver down her spine. "I can't believe we did that," Mia said, her voice trembling as she pulled the blanket closer around her. "What were we thinking?" She felt a mix of guilt and confusion, emotions clashing like waves against a rocky shore. Jake turned on his side to face her, his expression earnest. "I don't regret it," he said, his voice steady, "but I get why you're worried. We need to think about what this means for us." His heart raced with the uncertainty of their future, the thrill of their encounter overshadowed by the shadows of what lay ahead. Mia nodded slowly, her mind racing. "We can't tell anyone?" she replied firmly, though her heart felt heavy at the thought. The weight of their secret loomed large, a barrier that now separated them from their usual banter and closeness. "Agreed," Jake said, a sense of relief washing over him at their mutual understanding. "But we also need to figure out how to act around each other. This can't change everything, not if we don't want it to." His eyes searched hers, hoping to find reassurance that they could navigate this new dynamic without losing what they had. But Mia wasn't so sure. The uncertainty loomed large in her mind, casting a shadow over the connection they had just forged. "It won't be easy," she admitted, feeling the weight of the reality they faced. "What if it just makes things weird between us?" Jake sighed, knowing she was right. They had stepped into a realm of complexity that neither of them had anticipated. "We'll take it one day at a time," he suggested, trying to inject a sense of hope into the heavy atmosphere. As they lay in silence, a mixture of emotions swirled around them. Excitement, regret, fear, and a hint of longing. The moment they had shared felt like a dream, but the repercussions were all too real. Would they be able to return to the way things were, or had they forever altered the fabric of their relationship? Mia turned her head to look out the window, the moonlight spilling into the room and casting soft shadows on the walls. The world outside continued as if nothing had changed, but for them, everything felt different. The thrill of their encounter lingered like a ghost, a beautiful but haunting reminder of the night their lives had shifted irreparably. "Let's just keep it between us for now," Mia finally said, her voice steadying as she spoke. Jake nodded in agreement, but the weight of their unspoken feelings hung heavily between them, an invisible tether binding them together in a way that was both exhilarating and terrifying. The morning light spilled through the curtains, illuminating the room with a soft glow. Mia stirred awake, the warmth of the sun contrasting sharply with the cool air of the previous night. As she opened her eyes, the events of the previous evening flooded back, sending a rush of emotions through her. She felt both exhilarated and anxious, a whirlwind of feelings crashing together like waves on a shore. Jake lay next to her, still sleeping, his face relaxed and peaceful. A pang of tenderness filled her chest as she studied him, but that warmth quickly morphed into a knot of apprehension. What did this mean for them? The reality of their encounter hung in the air like a thick fog, making it hard to breathe. Mia quietly slipped out of bed, careful not to wake him. She needed space to think, to process everything that had happened. The cool floor felt refreshing under her feet as she padded into the kitchen, the scent of coffee wafting through the air, a comfort in the chaos swirling in her mind. She poured herself a cup, the rich aroma grounding her amidst the uncertainty. As she sipped her coffee, her thoughts drifted back to last night. The laughter, the dares, the undeniable chemistry that had ignited between them. But now, in the light of day, the thrill seemed overshadowed by the enormity of their actions. She couldn't shake the feeling of dread creeping in, like a shadow lurking just out of sight. What if their secret got out? What if they couldn't go back to being just step-siblings? Mia's heart raced at the thought, and she took a deep breath, trying to calm herself. She felt the weight of the world resting on her shoulders, a burden that had shifted overnight. She glanced back toward the bedroom, wondering how Jake was feeling. Did he have the same doubts swirling in his mind, or was he basking in the afterglow of their connection? A soft sound from the bedroom drew her attention. She turned to see Jake stirring awake, his eyes blinking against the brightness of the morning. As he sat up, the covers slipping down, she caught a glimpse of his toned body, and a rush of warmth filled her again. But this time, it was laced with anxiety. "Good morning," he said, his voice still thick with sleep. There was a hint of a smile on his lips, but she couldn't help but feel a wave of uncertainty wash over her. How would they navigate this morning after the night that had changed everything? "Morning," she replied, forcing a smile. Her heart raced as she thought about how to approach the topic hanging in the air between them. Should they acknowledge what had happened? Should they act as if nothing had changed? The weight of their silence felt heavy. Jake swung his legs over the side of the bed, running a hand through his messy hair. "I slept well," he said, trying to keep the mood light. "You?" "Yeah, me too," Mia replied, her voice a bit shaky. She turned back to her coffee, hoping it would somehow give her the courage to address the unspoken tension. As Jake moved closer, the familiar warmth between them ignited, but the memory of last night loomed large, casting a shadow over their interaction. "So, what do you want to do today?" he asked. his tone casual, but she could see the flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. Mia took a sip of her coffee, needing a moment to gather her thoughts. "I don't know," she said finally, searching for the right words. "Maybe just hang out? Watch a movie or something?" "Sure, sounds good," Jake replied, but there was an undercurrent of tension in his voice, mirroring her own feelings. They both knew that avoiding the topic wouldn't make it go away, but how could they possibly discuss it? The silence stretched between them, thick and heavy. Each heartbeat felt like a countdown to an inevitable conversation they weren't ready to have. Mia felt her pulse quicken as she contemplated their options. They could keep pretending, acting like nothing had changed, or they could face the reality of what had happened. As she glanced up at Jake, their eyes met, and for a moment, the world around them faded. There was a connection between them that was undeniable, yet the fear of what lay ahead loomed large. They were standing on the edge of a precipice, and the choice before them felt monumental. "Let's just enjoy the day," Mia finally suggested, wanting to push the weight of their secret aside for a little while longer. "We can figure everything out later." Jake nodded slowly, but Mia could see the flicker of concern in his gaze. They both knew the truth. They couldn't ignore what had happened. But for now, they would try to navigate the new territory they had entered, one step at a time, while the shadows of the night before lingered in the background, waiting for the right moment to resurface. The morning slipped into midday, and the house felt eerily quiet. Mia stood in the kitchen, her fingers nervously drumming against the countertop as she replayed the events of the past 24 hours in her mind. The exhilaration of last night still buzzed in her veins, but now it was overshadowed by the weight of their actions. She couldn't shake the feeling that their lives had irrevocably changed, and uncertainty gnawed at her insides like a restless tide. Jake entered the kitchen, the faint sound of his footsteps barely breaking the silence. He was dressed casually in a t-shirt and shorts, but his usual easy demeanor seemed strained today. The tension in the air was palpable, thick enough to cut with a knife. They shared a glance, and in that moment, both knew they had to confront what had happened. "Hey," Jake said, his voice low, as he leaned against the doorframe. He looked around the room as if searching for something to fill the silence, but there was nothing. Just the two of them, caught in an unspoken dilemma. "Hey," Mia replied, trying to keep her tone light, but it came out softer than intended. She took a breath, steadying herself. "So, about last night." Jake ran a hand through his hair, a nervous habit that only made Mia's heart race faster. "Yeah, we really need to talk about it." The weight of his words hung heavy in the air. Mia nodded, her throat dry. "I mean, it was intense." She paused, searching for the right words to express the whirlwind of emotions that had taken over her. "But what does it mean for us?" Jake stepped closer, the space between them shrinking. "I don't know. I didn't think it would happen like that. It just felt right in the moment, you know?" Mia bit her lip, feeling the familiar rush of emotions rise again. "But it's not just that. We have to consider everything. We're step-siblings. This changes things." "I get that," Jake said, frustration creeping into his voice. "But I can't pretend that what we felt last night was just a mistake. It was real." He paused, searching her eyes for understanding. "I like you, Mia. I have for a while now." His admission sent a thrill through her, mingled with fear. "But what if we cross a line we can't come back from?" Mia's heart raced at the thought of stepping into uncharted territory. "What will our families think? What if this ruins everything?" Jake sighed, running a hand along the back of his neck. I know it's complicated, but we can't just ignore how we feel. Pretending it didn't happen would be worse than dealing with the consequences. Mia took a deep breath, her mind racing. She felt a surge of hope mixed with dread. What if they could navigate this together? But could she risk their current relationship for something more? I just don't want to lose you, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. You won't lose me, Jake assured her, stepping closer. We can figure this out, together. The sincerity in his eyes made her heart swell, but the uncertainty lingered. They stood together in the kitchen, the distance between them collapsing. But as much as she wanted to lean into that connection, Mia also felt the weight of the decision pressing down on her. I think we should take things slow, she suggested, finding her voice. Let's not rush into anything. We need time to process what happened and decide what it really means for us. Jake nodded, his expression softening. I can do that. I just don't want to hide what we have. It feels too important. Then let's be honest with each other, Mia replied, feeling a sense of relief wash over her. No more games. We need to communicate. Jake smiled, a hint of relief in his gaze. I agree. But let's also be careful. We don't want to hurt anyone else or ourselves. Mia felt a small smile tug at her lips. Deal. The conversation lightened the atmosphere, but a cloud of uncertainty still lingered. They were stepping into a new chapter of their lives, one that held promise but also risk. They knew they had to tread carefully, balancing their feelings with the realities of their situation. As they began to discuss their plans for the rest of the day, Mia couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the brink of something significant. They were no longer just step-siblings. They were two people navigating the complex landscape of their desires and emotions. In the quiet of the kitchen, surrounded by the remnants of their shared experience, Mia realized that whatever came next, they would face it together. It was a small comfort in a world that felt suddenly unpredictable, but it was enough to give her hope. Just when Mia and Jake thought they had carved out a moment for themselves, the doorbell rang, shattering the intimate silence they had been basking in. They exchanged a glance, both surprised and slightly anxious. Who could it be at this hour? Mia had been enjoying the clarity of her feelings, the thrill of finally connecting with Jake. But now the bubble of their moment seemed to be at risk of bursting. Jake stood up first, brushing his hands against his jeans, as if to wipe away the lingering tension from their conversation. I'll get it, he said, moving towards the door, a hint of uncertainty in his step. Mia's heart raced, half hoping it was just a neighbor, and half dreading that it might be someone who could ruin everything they had just begun to understand. As Jake swung the door open, Mia could see a shadowy figure standing on the porch. It was Aunt Linda, their mother's sister, who they hadn't seen in years. Her presence was unexpected, and as she stepped inside, a chill seemed to wrap around the warm atmosphere they had created. "Mia! Jake!" she exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with surprise. "I didn't expect to find you two here together. It's been too long." Mia forced a smile, though her mind raced. What was Aunt Linda doing here? The last thing they needed was an interruption, especially from a family member who always had a knack for prying into things that were better left unsaid. "Yeah, it has," Jake replied, his voice lacking the usual enthusiasm. "What brings you by?" "Oh, just visiting the old neighborhood," Aunt Linda said, waving her hand dismissively as if it were a casual trip. "I thought I'd check in on the family. I heard through the grapevine that you both were here together. I hope you're not causing any trouble." She chuckled, but there was an edge to her tone that made Mia uneasy. As they settled into the living room, Mia couldn't shake the feeling that Aunt Linda's visit was more than just a coincidence. The way she eyed them both made Mia's skin crawl. It felt as if she were sizing up their relationship, drawing conclusions that Mia hoped would remain unspoken. "So, what's new with you two?" Aunt Linda asked, her tone light, but her gaze piercing. "I've been hearing some interesting things about our family lately." Jake exchanged a quick look with Mia, a silent communication that spoke volumes about their shared anxiety. He cleared his throat, unsure of how to respond. "Just the usual, you know," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "Hanging out, catching up on life." "Ah, family is everything, isn't it?" Aunt Linda remarked, her eyes narrowing slightly. "Speaking of family, there are some things you both should know, secrets that have been buried for far too long." Mia felt a knot tighten in her stomach. What secrets? The air felt thick with tension, and she could sense Jake's discomfort. She shifted slightly in her seat, trying to maintain her composure. "Secrets?" Jake echoed, his voice barely above a whisper. "What do you mean?" "Your parents. They weren't always the picture-perfect couple you thought they were. There were affairs, lies, things that changed everything," Aunt Linda revealed, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "I know it's hard to hear, but it's the truth, and it might change how you see your own relationship." Mia's heart raced as she processed Aunt Linda's words. The idea of their parents being flawed, of their family being less than ideal, rattled her. Would this revelation affect her bond with Jake? They had already crossed so many lines. Could this new information pull them apart? "Why are you telling us this now?" Jake asked, his voice steady but tense. "What's the point?" "Because you both deserve to know," Aunt Linda replied, her expression softening. "Family dynamics can be complicated, and it's important to understand where you come from. It might help you both make sense of your own choices." Mia felt as if the ground had shifted beneath her. Suddenly, her feelings for Jake felt fraught with complications. They were two people navigating a family history filled with secrets and heartache. Could they truly move forward without understanding the implications of their actions? As the conversation continued, Mia's mind raced with thoughts. As the night deepened, they made a pact, promising to navigate this tumultuous path side by side. Love against family loyalty. The stakes were higher than ever, but Mia felt a sense of strength in knowing they wouldn't have to face it alone. In the quiet that followed, they exchanged a determined look, understanding that they were on the brink of a decision that would change the course of their lives. Would they succumb to fear, or fight for the love they had found amidst the chaos? Only time would tell as they prepared to confront the unexpected challenges that lay ahead. Thank you for joining us on this thrilling journey through Mia and Jake's unexpected romance. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more captivating tales of love, secrets, and twists that life throws our way. Share your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think Mia and Jake should do next? Your feedback means the world to us, and we can't wait for more stories that keep you on the edge of your seat. Until next time, exploring the stories that ignite your imagination.